Welcome back, everybody. You still buzzing? I'm still buzzing. Are we all still buzzing? I'm here for it. I am your host, Sean. This is United versus everybody. We are back with another match preview because after really what was an amazing European night under the Old Trafford lights, United are through to the Europa League semi-final, where we do face Athletic Bilbao. But before that, we just have the small matter of the Premier League fixtures to deal with. We've got six more starting tomorrow with Wolves. We are hosting them. They are. I like this whole back-to-back home fixtures kind of thing. The whole going to Lyon and then going to Newcastle really bugged me, but it is what it is. I need to stop though before I jump in and everything. Before I jump in, it's this kind of a continuation from the last one because I need to apologize to Diogo Dallo because I completely forgot about him in the match reaction to the Lyon game. I didn't. It's not that I did it active. I just was there's all the players to go through. It was a busy day. You guys know I kind of flipped out and tried to break out of Bill's house and run around the neighborhood like a madman, but I completely forgot. Diogo Dallo, you got to give him his flowers. His goal, brilliantly taken goal, perfect, patient. He placed his shot perfectly far. I like the way our players are aiming for these corners and these far posts now instead of just always at the keeper. But Diogo Dallo, my bad, completely forgot. And then Bruno's ball for Manu as well. I forgot to mention that yesterday. But speaking of Manu, happy birthday to Kobe. He is 20 today. People forget that, I think, that the kid is just 20 years old. So when these commentators want to go in on him for England duties and whatnot, the kid literally is a teenager until today. So it is what it is. Let me see who is jumping in the chat. Dylan, chilling with Dylan. What's up, man? I am definitely on board with playing the kids. The league is over, and we need to know who can contribute in the future. Plus, who doesn't love when the kids put in a good shift? Exactly. That is the question we're going to be exploring today. Amorim was asked about this extensively. He had a lot to say. We're going to go over that. I'm going to give my thoughts. Of course, you know I care more about getting your thoughts, but appreciate that, Dylan. Danny says, hit that like button. Yes, please do hit that like button on the way for me, you guys. It does help me. Danny, I did see this comment, hence the new logo today, you guys. I've used that one in the past before, so I will look into maybe getting a Glazers out emoji. The problem is that the streaming platform I use, as you can see, if you use an emoji, for some reason the emojis do not want to pop up on the streaming platform, but people can see it in the chat. So I guess that's kind of splitting the difference. But I got you covered with the Glazers out. If you do want to rep the green and gold, y'all need to go check out the UVE merch store. You guys, there's a link in the description. The link is in the main page of my channel. We do have the awesome green and gold t-shirt with the United versus everybody on there. Keep an eye out too, because there is some new stuff in the store, and I'm waiting. I just designed it today. I've got a new shirt design coming out. So hopefully you guys will like that one. So keep a lookout for that one. That might be finalized by tomorrow or Monday. So keep a lookout for that one as well. But there is a new shirt in the store. There's a new option for the green and gold. So he said, Slash says, hey, Slash, how are you? Everyone's still buzzing. I'm still buzzing. I felt like I've taken like a B12 shot like every day since Thursday. I'm absolutely here for it, man. I love it. Maybe it's just the full range of all the emotions that we felt, the highs, the lows. I think it was just exhausting, and we're all still riding a little bit of that adrenaline from everything. But I am still buzzing, man. But good to see you again. Slash says, I keep missing the live with the work been too long. You know what? It's all good, man. You're here in spirit. As long as you jump on, you can always leave a comment. I'll do my best to get into the comments after. No problems there. I gotta open this because it's a little dark in here. There we go. Yes, it is good to see you, Danny. We echo Danny's sentiments. Always good to see the old familiar faces running the show here in the chat. But we are going to dive into the preview today. We're going to start with a little bit of news, as always. So please hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. Check out GoGoalShop. I always forget to mention the GoGoalShop. I've been trying to do it a little bit more these last couple of days. But if you are trying to get jerseys and you don't want to give the Glazers or Ineos any money, GoGoalShop is your best bet. They're not expensive. You guys have seen me rock those shirts a couple times now. I've got my eye on another one from the 1998-1999 season, so I might pull the trigger on that. And then check out the merch as well, like I said, and check out memberships too if you want to get more involved in the content that we put out. You guys know that we do the questions from a boot, we do scouting reports, we do the what ifs. So all 4 episodes of What If season 1 dropped. On the Glazers out, I was literally about to grab my world's biggest cash machine book to show you, but it's actually next to my bed because I've been taking some notes. So a little spoiler alert, maybe for the season 2 premiere of What If. Wink, wink. Keep an eye out for that one if you guys want to. I'm thinking about starting the next season off with a bang. We might do the biggie. So, and you guys can probably guess where I'm going with that. But let's get stuck in with the news, you guys. So, goalkeepers, strikers, number 10s. We've been linked to a number of players in recent months. January seemed like it was all anyone's talking about. And keepers, since January, it's been goalkeepers, right? But we got another name in the list of attacking midfield options. So we're going to talk about him first and foremost. And this is Magnus Aklios. This is a guy, I've mentioned him on the channel before. If you guys remember, I haven't done a scouting report yet, but today you're kind of getting a twofer because he was in the chamber to do a scouting report, and then we've been linked. So I thought might as well kill 2 birds with 1 stone and do the full scouting report. So this link is coming from L'Equipe and Get French Football News, and these outlets report that United have now joined the race to sign Monaco attacker Magnus Aklios. The guy can play a number of different positions. Number 10, forward, kind of right midfield. It sounds like regardless of who signs him, 23-year-old will be leaving Monaco this summer. City have also been linked into the scouting aspect of it. So as you can see, the guy is just a workhorse. He's got really good vision, really good passing range. He presses high up the pitch. These are all modern qualities for a modern kind of attacker. If you can, it's great to find your teammates. It's great to score goals, right? But if you can add that extra string to your bow of like physicality off the ball, that work rate, you're worth your weight in gold. And this guy does it. In terms of tackles and interceptions compared to other players in his position, he's literally in like the top 10, top 15% for tackles interceptions per 90. So he is a workhorse. 6 goals, 10 assists in all comps this season, having a tremendous season. This was already better than the 4 goal involvements he got last season. As Danny says, he's an excellent passer. He's excellent on the ball. When he's on the run, he kind of reminds me of old school Giggs. He kind of glides past people. He has that ability on him. It's very similar. I compare him to like maybe Desiree Doué a little bit. I do really think that he would suit the system that we're playing. Not only the demands that Amorim puts on players in general, but the demands that the role that he would play in this system require of him. Work rate on and off the ball. He's got flair. He's got creativity. I think his next move needs to be to a club where he can express himself in that regard, which is why I'm like, I see him linked to City, and a lot of players are probably like, yeah, City, they're one of the best. But I'm like, Pep will literally take away every ounce of creativity and expression and flair. He will take that out of you. And you've seen that it's not fun anymore. We were just talking about this the other day while we were watching the Europa League match. Like, football is getting a little bit too robotic for me in the sense of you don't see a whole lot of that expression anymore. It's very regimented, very strict, very just almost legalistic in terms of positioning. Like, if the ball is here, you do this. I want this and this. I feel like players are looked at more for attributes and not characteristics, if that makes sense. But in terms of other stats, I mean, his progressive passes, top 10%. All his other numbers, his progressive passes received, pass completions, carries, all that stuff is in like the top 20, top 25%. He's an excellent, excellent young player. He was up there on my list with Stroikens at Anderlecht as well, as another one that's very similar as well. But the kid is good. Anyone who watches French football, let me know if there's anything I've missed. But like I said, he's been on my list for scouting reports for a while. And now that I saw that we were linked, I thought I might as well get it done. So yeah, Danny says, a good passer, high work rate. And those are good boxes that we want in this club. We need some chance creation. We need players who can find the attackers because Bruno can't do it all. So good afternoon, Rob. Hope you're doing well. Anybody watch any matches yet today? I was watching a little bit of the City-Everton match. Yeah, of course, City won that if anyone did watch it. So So moving on, sticking with that attacking area of the pitch, Sky Sports have kind of reiterated the recent reports that United are front runners for Antoine Semenyo. A lot of people have a lot of different opinions on Semenyo. A lot of people like him. A lot of people think that there are areas of his game that he definitely is lacking as of yet. Whether or not we want to be the club to take on that kind of development is anyone's guess. I think if I had to choose between like someone like Semenyo and Delap, I'd probably choose Delap. If I had to choose between Semenyo and like Cunha or Mbuemo, I'd probably still maybe opt for Cunha. I think Mbuemo scored again today though, so I go back and forth. Those are like four players in very similar roles that I think could do a good job. So, but you guys let me know what you think about Semenyo. I know some of you aren't convinced because we've talked about him a couple times now. Not the best consistent finisher. I thought he had some injuries as well, but I don't watch as much Bournemouth as I did. I watched a lot more of them when they were in like December, January, and then just kind of tapered off a little bit as Bournemouth themselves have kind of tapered off. I think that it's going to be really interesting to see what happens with Bournemouth in the summer. Will Areola stay? Will they lose guys like Howson or Semenyo or Kirkes? Kirkes is probably the biggest question mark for a lot of people. I thought he was heavily linked to Liverpool. Could be interesting to see what happens. Rob says, nice to see Everton win tomorrow, and we overtake them. Yeah, that is true. I mean, we all kind of figured that was going to happen when it's City, but you never know. The Everton, to their credit, put up a good fight for the first half. It's just, and now they looked the better side when I first started watching the match, and then City just, a moment, just one little goal for City. This is the goals change games, right? So like that kind of forced Everton to open up a little bit, and just another one not that long after, and it is what it is. So Moisey. Moving on. Eduardo Burgos, if you guys know, he's a journalist. He primarily covers South American football. Maybe Danny knows a little bit more about this guy, but he claims that both United and Chelsea have now made contact with the player that we've been linked with recently, and that is Ian Subiabre. Now, remember, we discussed him a few weeks ago when the first links to United first started popping up. I like a lot of the South American players we've been linked to. It seems like we're being linked to a lot of defenders, guys like Mastantuono, guys like Subiabre, who is another attacker. If true, if we are reaching out, if we are making contacts, if we are kind of focusing a lot of our efforts in that young South American market, I like that's where our scouting and our recruitment is kind of going. I like having these young up and coming like future stars kind of in the back burner while we still look for some other players as well, because I think there are going to be some players uncovered, kind of like Julian Alvarez. We could bring in one of these youngsters for pennies, and in a couple of years, someone like Atletico or Real Madrid can come in and offer like 80 million, and that's difficult to turn down. So, Box, big up, Box. Hope you are doing well. Box, are you the Box thing on Twitter? Is that you that keeps retweeting and liking everything? If so, it's awesome. I just wanted to know if that was you or not. I wanted City to lose. We all kind of want City to lose because it just makes things that much better. But as Rob points out, it does allow us a little bit of wiggle room in terms of the table. That is a question of how confident you are in tomorrow's match, though. So, but I know Danny loves him some Subiabre. So reportedly, we and Chelsea both have made contact with Subiabre. So interesting to see what happens. Another young attacker. I think I did talk about him a little bit when we were first linked numbers wise and everything. So, but let me know if you guys are happy with those kind of links. Box has never been on Twitter. All right. Yeah, there's somebody on Twitter whose name is like Box something, like it's spelled with a B-O-X though. So I didn't know if it was just a play on words, but they kind of retweet everything. So I thought it was very similar names. So I thought I would ask, but big up, man. So let's talk about this match right now. I'm going to check the score of the Villa-Newcastle match, though, before I do, because we all have one eye on that a little bit, right? Want to see how Rashford's doing. It is 1-1 at the moment. Watkins and Fabian Schär, the goal scorers. Interesting. So let's talk about Wolves first. Oh, you're not wrong there, Box. It is definitely full of toxicity, of knee-jerk, of just total reactions, not really responding. So it is interesting, but it does allow me to reach another demographic of people and hopefully get some more people to jump on the channel and whatnot. So Wolves are on a little bit of a run right now. They got 4 wins in a row in their last 5, and then 1 draw, which was a while ago. And they even got a big win over Spurs recently. I think it was like a 4-2 win from them. So they're on a bit of a tear at the moment. Despite that recent run of good form, though, Wolves are still actually below us in the table. They sit 16th, just 35 points, and have a negative 14 GD. This was largely due to their horrific form during December and January. They struggled in December and January. I think they had like 2 wins in like 15 something games. They were garbage. Not a great look. We can banter though because we're above them, so that gives us a little bit of banter, right? But we can't banter a whole lot because we are on 14th, 38 points, and we've got a -7 GD, which again, not good at all, especially for United, but still better than Wolves. I mean, not recently though. Our recent form is garbage. 1 win in our last 5, and it was literally on Thursday against Lyon. That's not a whole lot of bragging rights there. 2 losses, 2 draws before that. Just 1 goal scored in 3 league games, and we conceded 5 goals in those 3 games as well. We're just shit right now. I'm telling you right now. We are not good right now. Problem too is Strand Larson has found his shooting boots in recent weeks. The guy is just popping up with like a goal literally almost every game. He's got 5 goals in his last 4 matches, so he's in a decent return right now for his. But if you had to look at it overall for the season for Strand Larson, you would call it a purple patch because he was not doing a whole lot until recently. So one can only hope that maybe this purple patch abandons him tomorrow, and Wolves are without maybe somebody. He is a bit of an old school number 9, so a little different threat than we're probably used to these days. You don't see a whole lot of those old school number 9, so it is something that poses a little different threat. So we will see how we handle that, what the plan is for that. Cunha, also a threat, as always. Nori getting involved in the goals recently as well. Cunha was y'all's overwhelming favorite for us to sign this summer compared to Liam Delap. It was literally like 70% of you wanted Cunha over Delap. So clearly there's something there. You guys see something there. Wolves obviously have that strong Brazilian contingent in midfield with Gomez and Andre. They do bring a bit of technical skill and physicality to that midfield battle, something that we struggle to cope with. You guys have seen this. We saw it against Newcastle. We saw it against Wolves. We see it against Liverpool. We see it against. We're just not physical. We don't have. The only player who gets around the pitch is Ugarte, but he can only do so much to accommodate Casemiro's lack of physicality, Eriksen's lack of physicality. Bruno does pitch in with tackles, but you lose so much from Bruno's attacking output when he's so far back. So we need players who can do a little bit more on and off the ball and have a little bit of physicality to them. It's that relentless physicality that Wolves have, though, that saw them beat Spurs 4-2. They came out of the gate firing in that match, and they did not give Spurs an inch or a second to breathe. They just didn't give them any space. They forced a lot of errors. They cut off passing lanes. They pressed, and then they capitalized on those forced errors, which, again, the way we play out from the back, the lack of ball playing defenders that we have, Onana just dallying on the ball, I easily see that going a similar route. We can't afford to be so slow and indecisive on the ball, especially in our own box, especially in that build-up, because they won't let us get away with it. Box says, hopefully we get a few debuts. Yeah, hopefully. That's the plan. That's what I want your guys' thoughts on here shortly. Rob says, Boxing Devils is me. Okay. See, we've solved the mystery. I knew it had to be somebody, but no, I appreciate that, Rob. I really do. I thought it was Box because it's similar. I thought maybe it was a play on words, but big up, Rob. Pablo, welcome to the channel, Pablo. We need to get rid of Onana. Yes. You should go back and watch the Newcastle match, and then go watch not the Newcastle, the first Lyon legs match reaction, and you'll hear all sorts of fun thoughts on Onana. The guy is just a net negative these days. He doesn't look comfortable or confident in his own box. He looks like he shits himself anytime that ball gets anywhere near him. His passing, his distribution is just not good. And he's hurting us more than he's helping us these days. Now, to be fair, he did have a fine time in that second leg. He made a couple of good saves. I would have preferred to not see him like talking a bunch of smack when Ugarte scored, because Onana is the last person who needs to be talking. I honest to God think Onana is. I don't actually think he puts off a good show of being confident, like in that moment or with the pre-match stuff again against Lyon, but I think it's literally just an overcompensation. I think he is anxious. I think he does feel the pressure, and I think he's trying to like project that he's not. And you can kind of tell when it gets that overboard. It's exactly what it feels like. You guys let me know. I could be wrong, but I do think we do need to get rid of Onana. Going into the season, it probably wouldn't have been one of my priorities, but in the last couple of weeks, definitely. Like he's just cost us so many points. He's cost us so many matches. He's the reason we dipped out of the Champions League last season in the group stage. And I know that sounds harsh. It's not meant to be. It's just the facts. I mean, we all have eyes. We all have half a brain, I assume. So we know. Like Slash says, Onana has cost us way too many games. He has. He just has. Forest. That Gibbs White goal against Forest was just. That was probably the thing that put me over the edge in terms of Onana. I stopped kind of just having hope at that point. The guy's 29. He was in a Champions League final a couple years ago. He should not be doing this kind of stuff. So Buck says, I'd keep Onana as chief shithouser and mascot to rile up. Just let him sit on the touchline and rile up the fans. I'm here for that, Box. Big up, man. Robert Reed, welcome back, man. I hope you're enjoying your Saturday. Pablo said the biggest mistake was getting David who are you talking about? Let me know. Robert says we can banter, but yeah, we can banter a little bit. Man, everybody's jumping in. Darko, I want to make sure I get everybody in here. Darko, big up, Darko. Hope you're enjoying your day, man. Darko says I can tell you Onana is not okay mentally. He definitely looks anxious, doesn't he? He doesn't look like he's a confident guy. He looks like he talks a big game, but I do think it's more for him to try to like maybe convince himself, maybe kind of convince other people. But I do think that it's starting to feel like another player that maybe Old Trafford and the weight of the shirt is just a little too much for him personally. Pablo says, sorry, De Gea should have stayed another year. Well, I mean, you're not alone in that. The problem is we would have had to sign a new contract, right? And then we would. And again, I don't have a problem with De Gea. And if you've been watching the channel for a while, you guys know that when it comes to transfer targets, when it comes to signings, I try to filter it through the system that we play. And unfortunately for De Gea, the reason that we let him go was because he did not suit Ten Hag's system. You guys know that Ten Hag wants keepers who are comfortable on the ball, who can build out from the back in that kind of slow build up. And De Gea is not that guy. So I totally get it. And let's not pretend. I mean, the revisionism I've seen sometimes with De Gea boggles my mind, because these are the same fans who used to complain, not pointing out you, Pablo, just in general what I see online. De Gea's his abilities were starting to wane a little bit in the last couple seasons he was here. So I don't want us to forget about that either. Compared to Onana, he looks amazing, but it's not hard, right? I look better than Onana when I play indoor, when I played keep for 25 minutes. So Slash says should have gone for Diogo Costa. We could have. He was heavily linked. We've been linked with him in recent weeks as well. So I know he's made some big errors too. Let's not forget when we played them, he made a mistake. And he made a mistake yesterday too. Pretty significant mistake from Diogo Costa. So I'm not super convinced on Diogo. He's giving me more and more like De Gea vibes, Costa, where he's a little slight physically. He's not super confident. He's good shot stopping and whatnot. There's something there I'm not quite seeing from Costa to convince. Darko says, I don't understand what Amorim sees in Onana. Well, I mean, he doesn't really have a choice, does he? Bindier was injured. Tom Heaton was injured until recently. So all we had is Onana. So not really much you can do about that, unfortunately. So it is what it is. When you have so many injuries and there's only you're struggled with, you're hamstrung by PSR restrictions. There's only so much you can do. You kind of have to just stick with what you have and try to figure out a way to make it like a little less shit week in, week out. That's pretty much the goal right now. Danny says, yeah, or Raya before Arsenal got him. Yeah, I remember you said that the other day. You liked Raya. I think we were linked with Raya for a minute there. I remember that when the whole De Gea thing. We were linked to a lot of keepers back then as well. Pablo says Onana seems top heavy. He can't get to the ground fast enough. I've said that many times that Onana is a big dude, and I think all that muscle that he's carrying does make him a little stiff. It really hurts his agility, his coordination when he's coming off his line. When you're saying like when he's going to ground and stuff. I mean, physically, like from a physics standpoint, right? You should like being heavier should make you go to ground quicker, right? When you look at the acceleration of gravity, right? Negative 9.8 meters per second squared. The more you weigh, the more mass you have, combined with that, negative acceleration should make you go to ground quicker. But I think it's because he's bigger. He's just not as agile. He can't move around as much. Sorry to take it down a really boring physics route there, but I like sometimes showing off what I remember from high school physics 25 years ago. Yeah, I'm that old. Dark Row, the narrative setup was at the time anti-De Gea and full support was given to Ten Hag's decision to bring Onana. And you kind of have to, though, right? Because we can sit here and we can say we need to back the managers, but then and when a manager wants a player, you have to back him, right? And so but again, that's when it becomes upon the manager if the player doesn't work out or not. Unfortunately, De Gea or Onana is just not quite working out. So again, we'll see what Amorim and the club decide. Onana did switch agents in recent months. Usually that does mean either something like new contract or potential transfer. I wouldn't be opposed to him being sold. If a Saudi club came in and offered like 20-25 million, like bite their hand off, go get Joan Garcia, 21 million pound release clause, pay a little bit more, amortize that fee over a couple of years, bish bash bosh, it's done. Sorry, Alice, don't copyright me. But big up. Bach says Union Berlin for Stuttgart 4 at halftime. Interesting. I need to get back to watching Bundesliga. It's just been such a crazy. Now that the weather's been nicer, it's like I got to add all this outdoor work to all the indoor work that I've already been doing. It's just I only get 24 hours right in the day, and it's just hard to squeeze it all in. So it is what it is. But again, we need to not be so slow because Wolves will pounce on that. I feel like I say that every match though, and it's because it's a problem I constantly see. Move the ball quicker in that build up. Get it wide to get it forward. Like this again. Newcastle were pressing. We struggled to play through midfield. The chances we did create and the goal that we scored against Newcastle came because we got it wide, we got it forward, and we found our attackers quickly to take advantage of that high press and the space left in behind. Wolves will leave space in behind. If Aït-Nouri, Semedo are getting involved with the goals, that's because they're getting higher up the pitch. Wolves play the same formation we do. There will be space in behind. We just have to find our attackers. Problem is, again, as we talk about starting 11, is Garnacho, do you want to run Garnacho again after he just ran for 100 minutes and he's been playing pretty much every match? Or do we don't have any other options unless we want to start with the kids. So that's where we're going. Danny says the summer window is going to be stressful. We need business. The summer window is always stressful, but we do need business done early. If for no other reason, just to get Amorim his players for preseason, I would love to see us get 2-3 players in. In a perfect world, we get all our players done, go into summer window, go into preseason. Amorim's got his full squad to work with, and we're not waiting until like the season already starts to make some of these signings like we've done for years and years and years. It sucks. We're too slow. And I was critical of Ineos in the summer too, with like Ugarte, for instance, or even Dorgu. We didn't get Dorgu till like the last weekend of the January window. In the old days, I would have criticized that as a decision to save money on wages. Yeah, you don't have to pay another, month of wages if you wait till the last day of the window. But if I hope that's not the case with Ineos, I wholeheartedly think that was the case with the Glazers and Woodward, because those greedy parasites are just scum-sucking bastards. But Danny says, I might delete YouTube when the transfer window opens. Well, you guys know when that transfer window opens, we will be here to talk transfer news. As much as it pops up, and then obviously you guys know the end of the year we do our end of season awards show, so be sure to pop up for that one as well. We don't have a whole lot of positives to talk about. Well, we're still going to do it anyway because we have some different awards to talk about this time. But you guys know I like to do the season award show, so keep a lookout for that one. And like Danny says, like we spoke about later the week, transfer window is opening earlier. It starts in June, it closes for a week, and then it starts up again. It goes until the end of August. So longer transfer window this year. So Slash says, if it comes down to sales, we might not be getting much done early, though. Well, hopefully, guys like Rashford can keep doing well. Anthony can keep doing well. I don't want to see us haggle for the entire summer either. Like, get your target, and if the selling club is gonna haggle and shit like this, just go in and say, this is how much we're gonna spend. This is what this is. Take it or leave it. Otherwise, we're moving on. I don't want to see us do this like we've done many, many summers. This is what happened with Harry Maguire, if you guys remember. Like we sat here and we pursued this guy for the entirety of the summer and still ended up paying 80 some odd million for him because we're just spineless. Just move on if it's what's going to happen. Like, it's just, we've got to remember that we need to back ourselves in that regard as well. You're only hurting the manager, you're only hurting the team, you're only hurting your chances in the season if you're spending all summer and you're not getting business done early. And I hope that Ineos see that. I think Barada sees that. I think Wilcox knows that. I think these guys know it. But the proof is in the pudding, right? We have to see it. It's great to talk a big talk, best in class this. We don't want to run to the wrong decision but you can run to the right decision too. And that's what I want to see from Ineos now. Like, if you know what you want, go get it. That's all there is to it. Pablo says, for all this to happen, we have to win Europa League. We depend on that money because, as we all know, the Glazers will not spend 1 cent on the club. Yeah, I do think the Europa League is definitely going to help. It is a big chunk of change. Champions League football next year. That does help. But selling players is going to be a big help as well. We could raise as much from sales as we would stand to make in Champions League, even in just the league phase next year. And so it is going to help a lot. And it helps that, Rashford's doing fine. I mean, it helps that Anthony's doing fine. It doesn't seem like maybe Balasia is going to stick around at PSV, so that's another one we got to get rid of, but we will see. But I hope that we do. Obviously, we'll be following along Europa League progress. Slash says, we don't need the Glazers to put money in. We need them to stop taking it out. Yeah, well, there was a freeze on dividends, but the problem with that, as we discussed in that video a couple months ago, is it possible to force them out? The problem with that is that they've given themselves power also to decide what the definition of a dividend is. And so, or they given themselves power. Basically, they just have power. They can decide what sort of decision-making powers certain shares have, what dividends mean, and all this kind of stuff. And so there are ways I think it could happen. It would just take a number of people to actually buy into it. So it is what it is. Sanjay, good evening. Where are you at this weekend, Sanjay? Valencia? Box says, yeah, PSV won't buy Malacia Primo. That's what I read. The source wasn't super reliable, so I wasn't sure how much faith to put into it, but that is what I read. But again, I like to see us move this ball quicker tomorrow, capitalize on the space that these wingbacks are going to leave, capitalize on the fact that we do have some quick attackers, guys like Dogu. Dogu looked ready to get that ball and power forward. Dallow's in a decent run of form. Garnacho's a little tired. Højlund playing the ball into space when he's got space to work with is definitely his wheelhouse. He has improved his link-up play as well in the build-up. So, and his movement in the box is looking better. I just need him to get back to that form we saw going into the break. Defensively, like I said, we need to keep an eye on Strand Larson. He is in a good run of form. He does present an old-school number 9 kind of profile. He'll thrive on that service. Cunha obviously has the pace and the power, and he's in a good run of form as well. So there's a number of threats. And with the way that we're threadbare right now in terms of squad, it's hard. Maguire just played a long match. Garnacho just played a long match. Bruno just played a long. Everybody's literally have no time to rest. So if we could put these games to bed so we don't have to go to extra time like we did in the FA Cup as well, it would be helpful. But it is what it is. All we can hope is we get some players back fit for this one. RSV says, I wonder who's willing to cover the wages that Rashford, Anthony, Sancho, and Casemiro on. Well, I think we're going to be stuck with Casemiro until his contract runs out, unfortunately. And then he'll probably go spend a couple of years in the Saudi League or something. Rashford, these players can always take a pay cut if they choose to, if there's other bonuses involved. It's just, this is why though, RSV, like we're in a PSR situation, is because we pay these players so much money that we're stuck with them, and they leave for free. Like De Gea left for free, Pogba left for free. Sancho there's a chance if we get Sancho back, there's a chance we could be stuck with him for a very long time because we paid him too much. Anthony too. I don't think Betis are as poor as they want to claim in terms of buying Anthony, but again, this is why we decided just to give all these players super big contracts, and we can't move them on because no one else could afford them. And so it's just, it's not this, and the people that made those decisions are the people that have been in charge of the biggest decisions at this club for well over a decade now. And this is why we're in the situation. This is the stuff that Ten Hag had to walk into, Ollie, Mourinho, Amorim. This is the situation that Ineos had to walk into and try to figure out. It sucks. It really does suck. Then he says, I hope Amas starts again with Obi. Yeah, well, Obi can play now. So obviously, he can't play in the Europa League. So it is what it is. There was some concern when Mazraoui and Lindelof were forced to leave the Lyon match. They had personal issues, but it sounds like they're back, according to Amorim. And more importantly, it sounds like whatever the issues were, that everything is fine. So that's good. Good news for them and their families. I don't know exactly what happened, but if everything's fine, then that means everything's fine. Shaw and Mount are getting more minutes these days. So is Kobbie Mainoo, who obviously had that brilliant goal against Lyon. Amas, too, as Danny says, is getting some more minutes. He had a good amount of minutes against Lyon, looked good, played against Newcastle, obviously, for his full Premier League debut. And kid looked just fine. I almost feel like we could see Amas start, actually, now that I look at it. Maybe we could give Dallo a bit of rest and play Dorgu on the right. Maybe Mazraoui can play on the right. It's a question mark if Casemiro is going to start again. I do feel like Garnacho needs to come on as a sub for this one. But again, if he's fit and he's ready, then you might as well play him. But again, he's been playing a lot of football. Sanjay's in Malta now, and we'll be going to Krakow. Look at this guy, just a world traveler. Nice. Do you get like souvenirs when you go to these places? Like some people collect things. Is that something that you do? Maybe go to a football match. I had one of my old professors in grad school, huge United fan, big United fan. This was a professor that when I got to the school, all the people that I knew that are in the program already was like, yeah, that guy, like he hates everyone. Like no one talks to him. He's such a hard teacher. All it took for me one day was to wear a United jersey. And this dude, you would have thought we were best friends for years. This guy we were like buds. We were best friends after that. He gave us a take-home exam for the class that he taught. And I was there on a Saturday because I also worked at the clinic. And I literally walked over to the student lounge, put the United match on the TV while I was working on it. And the guy came and sat next to me to watch the game. And I was literally just asking him questions about his exam while we were watching the game. It was excellent. The guy, but he goes and travels to like Germany a lot. And so, but he always likes to go watch these games. He'll go watch like random, like Werder Bremen matches and stuff. And he'll get a shirt and stuff. So all that to say, Sanjay, do you collect any souvenirs? Do you get to go to any matches? Now Justin's sister is getting married, and they're doing a destination wedding in Portugal. So now Justin's all excited. He and his brother is going to go try to watch either like a Sporting or a Porto or a Benfica match, depending on where they're staying. He's trying to get me to go. He's like, just come and go to the match. And I'm like, what? It would be fun. But Danny says, ours, we'll have to pay them off from the transfer fee. Yeah, there's all sorts of complications in there. Pablo says, Shaw is too brittle. He struggled a little bit against Lyon. He looked good when he came on before that. He put in a brilliant cross in the box for Højlund when he came on in the match ahead of that one. But he did not look – he looked a bit rusty against Lyon. I'll give you that. Danny says, yeah, they will do that gladly once they get a payoff from us, a win for them. Yeah. Pablo says, when Shaw is fit, he's one of England's best. Shaw's 22-23 season, arguably best left back in football in that season. The guy was – absolutely immense. And it's just the guy, you just can't rely on him to stay fit, unfortunately. It just really is too bad. RSV says Shaw is leeching the club of its resources and basically preventing us from progressing forward because he's stealing leaving. I mean, it's not his fault. I don't blame players for getting injured, unfortunately. I mean, And the argument, I'll make the same point I make when anybody says something like that. It's like if you got injured at your job doing your job would still pay you because it's called workers' comp. And it's the same with football. I mean, this is the very nature of the game. The guy came back from getting his leg broken in the Champions League against PSV Eindhoven, if you remember that. So I do give him a bit of slack. I don't blame players. I don't blame Phil Jones for being injured. I don't blame Martial for being injured. I don't. If they're injured, I don't blame them. But again, like you say, the fact remains is that he's on a high wage. He's taking up a spot in the squad. He does make it difficult for us financially to do things, and it's just a player that we can't rely on as part of the squad. And so all that is true. Both of these sides of the argument can be true at the same time, is what I'm saying. But I hear you that it is a bit of a drain in some regards, but I definitely don't blame players when they're injured. So Sanjay says, most time I just go to visit friends. Well, fun, man. That's awesome. You can do that. That's really cool. So Ruben Amorim was asked about his squad rotation and things going into this, specifically some of the things that we saw in recent matches. And talking about squad rotation, he says, I have to see it. Players like Dallo, they are always ready, but today he was really tired. The guys that are at risk to have an injury, we will try to save them. So we will see tomorrow. So that would have been yesterday. So he's talking about rotation here. So on your guys' point, and getting back to the title of the video, he was asked too about playing some of these youngsters, and Amorim had a lot to say, actually. So he said, I think it's not the best moment or the best season to put some kids to play because, again, they need a strong base to really show what they can do. So he's kind of coming at it of like, this is not the best, the most ideal environment for the youngsters to start, because that's a lot of pressure. Things aren't going well. There's a lot of negatives. He's worried that it'll actually hurt them more than help them. But he also says, if you look down below, but in this moment, we need to do it. And sometimes you have surprises. Exactly. Sometimes they can surprise you. He says, Aiden just played. And I can be honest, we did it because we had injuries in that moment. So he's readily admitting, like, the plan wasn't to rush Aiden Heaven into the starting 11 or into the matchday squad as quickly as we did, but we had no choice. And he says, but today I think Aiden is my player. So when he is ready and facing the competition, the team, he is ready to play. So you don't know. Amas did really well. Cheeto, when he played quite well. It is a difficult moment. It is not the right moment for the kids to play. But if we have to do it, then we will do it. So basically, you kind of heard all different arguments there. Sometimes they can surprise you. Sometimes it's not the ideal situation. There's a chance maybe you could hurt their confidence. It could hurt, like, it could be too much for them. We have to do when there's injuries. You kind of heard everything there. So Amorim is pretty good at that kind of stuff. I go back and forth on the youngsters thing. As you guys know, watching that Lyon match when we were down 4-2, I was already giving up. I was already losing my mind. So I was already planning streams for, like, what youngsters will we see next? You know, who's going to come into the team soon? Lo and behold, we turned that one around and totally just, made me look like an ass. But what are your guys' thoughts on this? I look at several of our youngsters and the way that they're excelling in the academy, the way they're playing at the under 21 or the under 18 level. And I want them to get first team minutes. I've been crying out for guys like Montato, Biancheri. Like, you guys know that I absolutely love Biancheri. The dude I think he's perfectly suited to this system in one of those number 10 roles. We got guys like Morehouse, the Fletchers, Kakonki, Comison. I love Comison. Scanlon, Shea Lacey's obviously turning heads too. I look at all these and I'm like, I want these guys to get minutes. I look at what, like, City are doing, what Barcelona have done the last couple of years. They brought these young, they've relied heavily on the academy when they've got injuries. And I'm looking at this saying, like, if they can do it and it works out, like if guys like McAteer, O'Reilly, Pedri, Gavi, all these guys are excelling, like, who's to say any of our academy youngsters won't do the same thing? But I do think that there is a difference between some of these guys and some of the players like Pedri. Obviously, when Pedri first joined the Barcelona first team, the matchday squad, it was clear this guy was an absolute, like, world-class future star. So when I did my my PFSA, not PFA, PFSA, when I did my level 2 scouting badge, my talent ID thing, one of the assignments was I had to watch a match and I had to pick a player and basically do a scouting report and analysis on that player. And I chose Pedri. It was a Barcelona versus PSG Champions League match. And just as I was watching Pedri only in that match, and then watching the way he moves and things, like I was seeing things from that kid at that time that I like this kid's going to go someplace. So do we have players like that in the academy? There a huge difference between Camison, Amas, Bianchiri, Cheeto, and someone like McAtee or O'Reilly or Dibbling? Is there a huge gulf there? I don't think there is. And like Amram's saying, they could surprise you. You won't know until you give them more minutes and let them see. Amas has done pretty well. Cheeto's come on in his aggression, his movement. Wheatley last season coming on and pressing, doing a lot of good pressing work. Like, I want to know your guys' thoughts, though. What you think. Heaven has been a revelation. Literally, like, no pun intended. The guy has been immense. Slash is the people giving out contracts technically injury-prone players are the really, yeah, exactly. It's the people who just saw someone like Jones and Martial and stuff, and were like, yeah, give them a new contract. Again, this whole mindset of protecting their value is just asinine. Slash says, until the end of the season, we should get as many of the kids' minutes as possible, see who's ready, who needs time, and who's worth moving on. And then there's the whole, and again, I totally agree, but then there's also the whole other aspect that we talked about after the Lyon match is it allows your first teamers a little bit of rest. So they're not literally playing 90 minutes every day. Guys like Bruno, guys like Dallo, Garnacho, I mean, they need to rest now and then. All our eggs are pretty much going to be in this Europa League basket, and I want the best players fit and ready to go. So it doesn't mean I think you just play only the kids. Like, I don't want you to have to squint to make sure you're not watching an academy match for 90 minutes in the league, but rotating players in and out, playing the first teamer for like 60 minutes, bringing on a youngster for a half hour, 45 minutes, like that to me should not be dismissed out of hand. It shouldn't be outside the realm of possibility. We have 6 matches left in the league. We've got guaranteed 2 matches against Bilbao. We need to make sure we're prioritizing Bilbao. I don't think we're going to get relegated. So yes, you can say mathematically yes, but that's one way of looking at it. I don't think we're going to get relegated though, but mathematically you could say it's still possible. I hear you, but I don't think it's going to happen. But so is it the worst thing in the world? I wouldn't like to finish below Spurs. I think that would just suck. But because then we got to be able to banter them a little bit still. But Ange Postecoglou, man, I can't understand it. So Dana says we definitely need to put some legs in the midfield to give Obi 60, 90 minutes every week. Sekou Kone is another one. Put Sekou Kone out there. Sekou Kone will literally run his socks off for 90 minutes. He will not let the opposition have a moment to breathe on the ball. That dude lives to just press the ball, man. He's quick. He's good at driving the ball, especially from in his own half. He's good at progressing it. Like, Fletcher, Morehouse, these guys have excellent vision. They can progress the ball with their passing range as well. Fletcher makes a lot of really good late runs to get on the end of something. Like, I want to see some of this happen now. There's literally no excuse not to, almost. Slash says, I probably wouldn't play all of them at once, but definitely drip feed as many as possible into the setup. Yeah, there's no reason not to. We can start Amas, give maybe Dallo a little bit of a breather and put Dogu on the right, start Amas on the left, for instance. We can bring on Cheeto and rotate, because we don't have Xerxes anymore. So rotate Cheeto a little bit with Højlund. Whether that means start him for a half or not, anyone's guess, but we need Højlund fit and firing. So you want Højlund to start scoring as well. He's getting closer and closer. Again, the international break really threw off a lot of momentum for us, I think, because he was getting better and better. And I told you when he got that assist, he was gonna start getting goals, and then he got a goal and he scored an international duty, and then it kind of waned a little bit. But you can see the recovery from that initial blow was really small, because his movement is already getting better. Is getting on the end of something. He basically had a big hand in Ugarte's opener against Lyon by pulling that last defender completely out of the way and leaving nothing but space for Ugarte to aim at. But I would like to see some youngsters get bled in. Kone, get him on there. Kukanki maybe to help get some people rested. I would love Biancardi to get in there. Scanlon, I mean, I'm not going to go through the list every time I mention it, but you guys know what I'm talking about. But who would you like to see start for this one? What youngsters would you like to see get some minutes? And I don't just mean 5 minutes at the end. I mean, like, let's see what they can do. A win tomorrow could see us jump back into the dizzying heights of 13th above Everton. We'll see how that goes. But I think we can all agree the top half of the table was a pipe dream months ago. I think that we kind of gave up on that. So we'll see. I'm actually going with a 2-2 draw tomorrow. I do think it's going to be a struggle physically because that midfield that they have is just full of energy and physicality. Cunha, they've got too many threats up top now. Aiden Norrie's getting involved. Cunha, and then Strand Larson. I think if any place that they're going to get got at is their defense, but we have to get the ball up there in order to pose a threat to their defense. And I just think we struggle to do that because for some reason Amorim looks at the midfield. He knows that we struggle with that, and he decides we're just going to go for it anyway. And I don't know. I would complain and say I'd like us to not just hoof it to McGuire in the box, but he's proven me wrong time and time again. So fuck me, right? Who cares? Danny says Amas, Obi start, maybe Kukonki, Morehouse, or Kone to get subbed on. Yeah, I wouldn't mind rotating. And this is kind of like playing FC when you've got the recovery rate set to normal, and you have to like play one player one game and then start another player next game to kind of balance the fitness level kind of thing. So we'll see how it goes. But I'm calling 2-2. What do you guys think the score is going to be? Let me know your thoughts. Anyone on Rodrigo Mora watch? He did score 2 goals yesterday in a win over Famalicão. And a Record, so a Portuguese outlet Record, claims that United had scouts in attendance for that match. Now, that outlet claims that we were watching Diogo Costa, so on someone's point earlier, but we all know that we are heavily linked to Mora as well. So maybe we're watching one or the other. Maybe we're watching both. Again, like I said, Costa didn't cover himself in glory in that match. He let in a goal very similar to that preseason goal that Onana let in. You guys remember that long ranger that Onana just couldn't get back for, and it went right over him. Costa let in a very similar goal, that one. So could go either way. Gyökeres had another hat trick, so he just is scoring literally like 50 some odd goals this season, which is absolutely insane. Slash says Collier for man of the match. Is Collier even fit yet? I feel like this guy's been injured for like a month and a half now. Like Bach says, he's not fit. I don't know if he's fit. I don't know what Collier's issue is. He's been injured quite a bit. Mainu as well has been injured quite a bit. I worry a little bit with some of these injuries when players are this young, especially if it's like the non-contact stuff. Little niggles and knocks and bruises you get from contact is one thing, but just pulling up with like hammies or calf strains and stuff, when you start accumulating a lot of that, then you're flirting in Mason Mount territory, and we want to avoid that if we can do that at all. Bach says if he's fit, I'd definitely start. Yeah, if Collier is fit, I'd be starting Collier for sure. Maybe rest Ugarte a little bit. I think Collier can hang in the midfield, but you guys let me know what you think. If you weren't able to catch the live, leave a comment. Let me know your score prediction. Let me know what youngsters you might maybe see. I'll do my best to get back to the comments. Check the UVE store. Like I said, there is a new edition, and keep a lookout for a new shirt design. Hopefully that'll be available this week. Whenever I submit a design, the website's got to approve it. They got to make sure I'm not breaking any copyright laws or I'm putting like naked people on there and stuff. It's just the way it works. So usually it's like a day or two process to get that approved, and then it'll be live. But keep a lookout for that. I just added a really good sweatshirt to the shop as well, like a nice official like Adidas one. So check that out if you guys want to get in there. Like I said, I don't have any control over the promos. I only have control over the promos that I want to activate. So they're on a set schedule, and there's different ones at different times. So the 20% off ended like a day or two ago. There will be another 20% off coming up in the next couple of days. Right now, I think it's like 10% off of like 3 items or something. Like I said, I don't get to decide that. If there's a promo that I'm allowed to use that's one available, I will always put it up there because I want you guys to have good deals if it's something that you're interested in. But it's okay. If you don't want to throw out a ton of money, I mean, they're not. I tried to make them super cheap too. I'm not trying to make a ton of money off that. But check out the memberships too if you guys get a chance to get involved in the content if that's something you want to do. We do the questions from a boot. You guys know I've done that a couple times. Scouting reports, what if episodes. You can get involved in all that. Check the membership to learn more how you can do that. If you want to contribute, if you want to support the channel financially, again, no pressure, but I always like to make sure people know the options if it's something they want to do. You can always leave a super chat or a super thanks afterwards as well. Whatever you got to do. But like the video, please subscribe to the channel. Let me see what you guys are saying before I take off here. Box wants Binder, Kakonki, Lindelof, Shaw. Just going full everything here. Dorgu, Ugarte, Menu, Amas, Mount Moras. Just I like it. I like it. Dennis says, I like it, but probably play Eriksson instead. Dorgu box, move Amas wing back. Yeah, I might put Dorgu to the right. Maybe give Dallo a chance to breathe a little bit. Start Amas on that left-hand side. Might start some, like, I don't know, maybe Eriksson in one of the 10s. Maybe give Garnacho a little bit of a rest. Maybe bring Garnacho on as a sub later on. Maybe Mount in the 10 as well. I could see that happening. I think Bruno is probably going to have to play a little deeper because I don't know. I think that Casemiro can play more, but again, it's a long time to play. And Casemiro was absolute man of the match against Lyon, in my opinion. But Danny's letting us know here. 2-1 Villa. Nice. Who scored? Let me know who scored that one. Matson. Okay. Danny said Dorgu getting played too much. Yeah, Dorgu was out for like 3 games, obviously because of the suspension. And then obviously he had the international break to kind of not do anything. So I'm not as willing to rest him as much. I think that he needs to get bedded in. He needs to figure this system out. And the only way to do that is to play him. But I get your point. The problem is we don't have a lot of options right now. And don't forget, we've got Diego Leon coming in this summer. He'll be 18 by then. We've still got guys like Kamasin, who I think can come in and play as well this summer. So it could be interesting to see what happens. But let me know your thoughts, you guys. Thank you for stopping by. I know I go through the whole spiel, the beginning and the end, but I like to just make sure everybody's got all the information in terms of memberships and whatnot. So hopefully we'll be back talking about 3 points. I do still think it's going to be, I don't see us getting the win. Obviously, I'm happy to be proven wrong. I predicted 2-2 draw. You guys let me know your thoughts. Until then, enjoy your day. Enjoy your Easter if anyone's, kind of doing a family thing for Easter. Dana says plastic. Horrible fans are already starting on Dorgu. Are you surprised, though, Danny? I mean, let's be honest. Is anybody actually... These are the same people who were going in on Menu after he had a couple of just quiet matches. The same, like... I try to... You guys know, I try to be objective. I try to distinguish between criticizing a one-off performance versus kind of condemning a player, like, entire career and entire worth because of that performance. I try to make a distinction there. Not everyone does that. So whether or not they don't want to, whether or not they're capable mentally, it is what it is. But I can only react to what I see. So I don't ever try to say that match meant this player is that. Whether it's good or bad, I reserve judgment until I get a bigger sample size. So, and yes, as Danny says, happy Easter, everyone. Enjoy your time if you're celebrating. Enjoy your time if you're just hanging out with family. Enjoy your time if you don't celebrate and it's just a Sunday. So wherever you are, wherever you're doing, watching the match, hanging out with family, enjoy it. Be well, be safe, and I will see you guys on the next one. Later.